Hi everyone, this is Mistress Sweet Pea, Mistress of Tech, and today we are doing another podcast from Bill Hedges' Starship, Lost in Space Starship. So as you can see in the background. So I would like to thank Bill Hedges for allowing me to use his studio here for my podcast. Thank you, Bill. And just to give everyone a quick little peek of what it's like. Anyways, on that note, today we're going to talk about something completely different. This is more of a movie review today. And honestly, I recommend this movie to everyone out there. It's called The Immaculate Room. So I will show you guys what it looks like so you can see it for yourself. So this is what it looks like the cover of the the movie. So if you're looking for it, wherever you're looking for it, you'll see it. So anyways, this is a movie that is kind of going to make you want to stop it and rewind it or back up to watch it again, because it's one of those movies that is completely mind-boggling and I love it. So let's get started on this one. So imagine this. Imagine if you and your significant other, boyfriend, wife, spouse, whatever, you and your partner were asked, could you spend 50 days in an empty room? I mean empty, like no cell phones, no computers. All you have is a white walls. Everything's white. All white walls, a white bed, and a monitor, like something like this, where you can reach out, you can push a button and talk to someone. Would you do it? Like when I say talk to someone, like the person who's running this project. Like if you want something, like they'll give you food or whatever, or drink or what, Would you do it for 50 days if you could get $10 million? That's the kick. Could you do it? Now stop and think about it for a minute. Really think about it. 50 days. Okay? Could you do it for 50 days with no cell phones, no laptops? You cannot bring any clothing with you. All you can bring with you is, you go into the facility with what you've got on. And they provide you with, they look like scrubs, like hospital scrubs, but they're not. Could you do that? But you have a bathroom, you can take a shower, that doesn't change. But could you stay in a room with no wall, no windows, nothing for 50 days and do that? Could you do it for 50 days without losing your mind and going crazy? Think about it. I mean, everyone says, yeah, I could do it, no problem. But stop and think about it for a minute. Could you really do it? I would try it. I don't think I could last 50 days, but anyways, this movie is called The Immaculate Room. It's a 2022 American psychothriller written and directed by South African filmmaker Mukanda Michael Dewell. He's credited as he's credited as both as the writer and the director. And the film was one of the earliest features shot under strict Los Angeles COVID protocols. Again, this was filmed during COVID. So which basically the theme of it makes sense about being in isolation. So the cast is intentionally small and intimate. So basically Emily Hirsch is played as Michael or Mikey Walsh, often just called Michael. Is a bit more impulsive, free-spirited person. Then you have Kate Bosworth, who plays Kate. She's more controlled, image conscious, and focused on responsibility and investment. And if you see the beginning part of the movie, they're sitting down together on the floor asking, well, if we leave in here in 50 days, what would you do with the money? She says, I'm going to invest it. He's like, I'm going to go spend it. So she's more investment, money conscious. And then you have Ashley Greene, who's Simone. She's a mysterious, seductive treat, and we'll talk about that. She's a seductive treat that basically enters the room and throws gasoline on this couple's tension that's already there. So she's actually causing more tension and more chaos for this couple. So, and then what's so it's a very small cast behind the camera. There's a lot of high key lighting. Again, it's an all white palette. So if you watch the movie, the walls of this where they filmed, it's all pure white. It's supposed to be. It kind of reminds me of like a mental facility for someone for someone who's seeking mental health, where there's just all white walls around you. So we're going to go through the narrative so we can get started and talk about more about this movie. So the premise is that simple. Kate and Mike are a couple who sign up for a psychological experimentation, or basically for 50 days. They're asked, can you spend 50 days in the Immaculate Room, which is a sleek, again, it's a white wall space, no windows. If they both stay inside for the full 50 days, they win. And I apologize on the amount. I gave you the incorrect amount. If they can stay in there for 50 days, they get $5 million. If one person walks out early, the prize drops down to $1 million. If they both leave, they both get nothing. The rules are strict. Again, no phones, no outside communication, no books, no entertainment, nothing personal. Food arrives through like one of these type of devices here. You push a button and like the food will come out, but it's not like food like we would normally eat. It's bland, excuse me. It's a bland pre-made form. So there's a bed, a bathroom, a laundry chute, and that's it. The only contact is their voices, and every time they can't go to the bathroom at the same time. Like if she was to take a shower and he was going to shave, the voice will come over and say only one person allowed in the bathroom at a time. And what's at first the tone seems kind of playful. Mike and Kate, they kind of are like, they feel like they're on this little quirky adventure together, and like they're on a vacation, and then they talk about the money. What are you going to do with it? She's more of an investment savvy person. He's more spontaneous. I want to spend it. So they kind of talk about what they're going to do. And then the film marks time, daily wake up time at 7 a.m. and there's a countdown monitor that tells you how many days you have left, and it goes down to the second until your 50 days is up. So it becomes almost real, as the days go by, boredom sets in, repetitive routine, getting up at 7, showering, putting on another set of scrubs that they give you, the food. It's basically, it's like a ritual. Conversations are void, emptiness speaks volumes. It's kind of, for some people, this might seem like a boring movie, but it's not boring. It's in my opinion, it's not boring. It's one of those that you've really got to put your mind to it. And I mean, it's a good question. I mean, would you do it for $5 million? I would. Would I be able to stay for 50 days? Probably not, but I would definitely try. So one of the key mechanisms of this movie is the idea of treats, which I mentioned earlier in this podcast. So basically, each person is allowed 2 treats during the experiment, but they cost money. The first treat is $100,000. The second treat is $500,000. So they don't know what they're going to get, though. So it's not like you can say, okay, I want to get an ice cream, or I want to get this, or I want to get that. No, it's a random treat. So this is where the fun begins. So they didn't know what they're going to get. So Mike's first treat is seemingly simple, a simple green crayon. So he got this big, thick, chunky crayon. And what does he do? Of course, the walls are white, and he's an artist. So he starts drawing on the walls. He begins filling up the walls with drawings, landscapes, portraits, memories. He's turning this white blank canvas into something magical and out of this world. So later, Mike wants another treat, because remember, you can only get 2 treats. So the second one is a gift, and her name is Simone. I think you guys see where I'm heading with this one. Simone is an attractive, naked woman who walks into the room as a third participant. So she is flirty, free, open, and she's very, like, hi, I'm in your face kind of woman, but she's very flamboyant, very free, and completely naked. So, anyways, Kate, of course, starts getting jealous and starts getting mad with Mike, but it's not Mike's fault because Kate fails to realize that the treat can be anything. Like, she could have done it and gotten a naked male, a naked man, could be anything. Anyways, so so basically, for the jealousies there, Mike is, of course, taken aback, off guard, but of course he's happy. I mean, you can see the smile on his face. What guy wouldn't be? Hello. So the temptations there, she represents his desires for being spontaneous, and Kate's more of a structured, like, I've got a mindset. He bonds well with Simone because Simone is similar in nature, whereas Kate's more stricter. So the room also manipulates them emotionally using video messages. Each receives a message from their loved one, which stirs up old wounds. So Kate gets a message from her father, and she's all of a sudden angry, taken aback, and is pushed against the wall and starts crying and like going like this, like she, and it does have its moments. I think that the issue she had with her dad, seeing that caused it made the movie more interesting, because when you start watching it in the beginning, it's kind of like, I don't want to see this, let me put something else on. But it does get interesting, and it does get more involved. So as the days go by, the couple's polished service when they walked into this room now starts to deteriorate. The cracks are everywhere, cracks on the wall, the relationship. Arguments go out of control, secrets are emerged. Kate starts thinking that Mike's sleeping with Simone. Then eventually they have a moment where Kate goes in and says, hey, I want a treat too. So Kate gets a treat, and of course it's some sort of a synthetic drug. They're all three taking this drug. They're all high. They're all, anyways, I'll leave it at that. You guys can kind of know what I'm talking about. So anyways, that kind of keeps everything going on. But now I want to dig into the thematic core of this movie, which is more than just two people 50 days in a box. On the surface, the film is about enforced isolation. What happens when you strip away all the distractions and you leave people alone with themselves? Which is a great concept to think about, because we don't normally think about that. The Immaculate Room is a spotless movie that focuses on that. It focuses on purity, isolation. It's basically like a pressure cooker. Like, how long can you stay in that room before you explode? And this is a phenomenal movie. Several critics noted that the film feels like a reflection of the pandemic era lockdowns and quarantines, where couples found themselves stuck together with no escape. So it was a little bit of a touchy issue for those who were boggled down during the pandemic. And then, it did kind of make it a little more like oh my gosh, I remember that. It's like a time period some people don't want to remember. But the isolation here isn't just physical, it's social and informational. So no news, no context, no sense of what's going on outside. You literally don't even know what's going on. Like, they could have been a mass shooting somewhere, and you will not know inside this room. Like, you are literally deprived of everything. You have just what I mentioned, like your scrubs, bathroom, treats, food, shower. Like, that's pretty much it. So the $5 million prize is a constant presence. It's basically the carrot on a string that's holding everything up. Like, come on, here, you want the carrot? You want the carrot? You got to stay here 50 days and you get the carrot, which represents the $5 million. So it's all worth it. Basically, they both feel like it's all worth it for the money. But as the film progresses, we see how money reframes everything. Again, it's all nice and upfront, hey, $5 million for 50 days. But as the days go by, that money starts to, it's everything starts changing. People, the money is not as important. because they're starting to lose their mind being cooped up in this room. The rules about how the money changes: $5 million if they both stay, $1 million if one leaves. This creates a constant push-pull of guilt, resentment, and leverage. The treat system does drive this home because they do get treats. They're only allowed 2 treats each, and the first one is $100,000. The second one costs $500,000. So it's just it's a nice perk that the director did in the movie, because I think without the treats, the movie might have been a little blandish. And again, in the beginning, it's going to seem like that, but it does pick up and it does get more interested. So another central theme is performance under surveillance. So the couple knows that they're being watched and judged, because in the beginning part of the movie, he wants to have intimacy with her, and she doesn't want to because they know they're being watched. I mean, if you leave the parameters, you're automatically disqualified. So they know they're being watched. So even if they don't see the camera, they're being watched. The room voice is this constant reminder of an unseen authority and control. It basically says, enjoy your stay in the immaculate room. But it's like a monotone voice, like the movie Bueller. Bueller, anyone? Bueller. You remember that movie? So it's kind of like a monotone voice. It really doesn't do much. But the tension between authenticity and performance is subtle but important. At the beginning, they become like the ideal couple. As stress builds in, as the isolation builds in, then there's resentment, fear. They wish they didn't do this after all. So there's a lack of accountability for whoever runs the room. Critics have pointed out that the script hints at the people behind the experiment, but never fully engages with the ethics of what's being done. These people, why don't we have scientists doing this? Why a normal couple? So there's been a lot of criticism about this movie. Overall, everyone's entitled to their own form of criticism. I think it's a great movie. But The Room strips away external identifiers: careers, social media, possessions, even clothing style. So what's left is a raw version of each person's inner self, inner character. Though the video messages and private conversations between Mike and Kate Carey, they have unresolved trauma. Mike's involved around a dead sibling, and Kate's involved around an alcoholic father. So the White Room becomes a kind of a psychological mirror. Mike's crayons turns the wall into a collage of his inner world, memories, fantasies, Kate's escalating anxiety, and need for control of how she's built a tightly version of herself. So you've got 2 different personalities that are clashing with each other. So, of course, there's going to be tension. So, and this is also a great relationship tester: love or leverage. That's another concept to think about with this movie. Because one critic noted that by placing a heterosexual couple alone in a room for 50 days, the film forces us to question our own relationships. And it does. Because when you watch this movie, you start to think, okay, now would my husband, fiance, wife, partner, would they stay in a room with me for 50 days and get $5 million? Can they do it? It's a test. It's a relationship test. Love or leverage. That's a good point. So the Immaculate Room acts as an extreme stress test. No distractions, no date nights, no external crisis, nothing. Just you and your partner in a room together with nothing else. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to tell you, the Simone character, she's not there throughout the whole film. She does leave. But we don't see that, because when Mike and Kate wake up the next day, she's gone. So she's in the movie for a brief time, but like with any treats don't last forever. She also went away. But her role in the movie was really good, so I will give her that. So we're going to talk about the style and the legacy of this movie. So stylistically, it leans into minimalism. A life of minimalism, try saying that 5 times fast, is those who like living with less. I have lived as a minimalism for some time. And basically you live with basically just whatever you need. Like I one time lived with just a bed, a kitchen table, a TV stand with a TV, and that's it. And of course, I had a dresser for my clothes and a closet, but like I didn't have like a dining room table, a a 3-piece couch set. Very minimalist, and that's what one of the stylistic views of this movie is. It hinges upon minimalism. So this movie is this minimalism. It puts with it also limited color palette too. So everything's white. So when I lived as minimally in the past, I had colored on my walls were colored in various colors, but this one is completely white, so it's kind of a little more nerving for some people. So basically the reception as was mixed. Some critics praised it, some thought it was considered too dark and dreary and a reminder of the pandemic era. So it just depends. A lot of people have given it great reviews. In terms of legacy, The Immaculate Room sits in a lineage of high concept, low location, psychological drama like other movies where characters are trapped in a confined space and forced to reveal their true selves. And that's what Mike and Kate do. They eventually reveal themselves. They get into some naughty business with a third person. Their inner demons come out. So the life they had before they signed up for this project was all pushed aside. Like they didn't think of it because they thought about each other and their lives and what they were doing, where they're going. Being forced in a room for 50 days with nothing brings out the inner demons, which for some people might be a good thing. Like if you've got some issues and you need to work them out with someone, sometimes being in a room for a few days with that person could help. It just depends. But anyways, on that note, so this movie is a stark, stripped-down psychological thriller about two people, four white walls, and a price tag on sanity and relationship. It opens up the concept of, whether we're really built for isolation. Can us as humans live like that for 50 days? And it also brings up the concept of people who live off the grid. I give kudos for those because honestly, in a way, I'm kind of envious because I would love to live off the grid some days. Some days it'd be nice not to have all of this technology around. But anyways, we're not built for isolation. Well, the movie basically asks whether us as humans are built for isolation, what money does to our moral compass, and how our love survives when you take away every distraction. So this movie, as much as to some people it might be boring, it really is an eye-opener. I mean, and don't get me wrong, it's a great movie. I mean, there are some parts that are a little drawn out that could have kind of cut out or maybe added something to it. But for the most part, it was a great movie. I highly recommend seeing it. But I recommend seeing it as, you can see it by yourself, but I highly recommend seeing it with your significant other or friends or just kind of, see what you think. But anyways, on that note, I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. Really appreciate it. You guys are amazing. Thank you again, and please subscribe to my podcast on YouTube, which is Mistress Sweet Pea, and I will talk to you guys later.